Hi, welcome to Art Explorations Online. Today we are going to make a crown project um, in the style of Basquiat. So one of the things that he created, which became one of his symbols in art, was the crown. And the crown was used to signify something or someone that was kind of important to him. So what we're going to do, we're going to create our own crown project. You're going to need some construction paper or some recycled materials. So the crown that I'm holding now, this is made from yellow construction paper. And if you have yellow construction paper, you can draw your crown on your paper, and that's what we're going to use to cut out and glue to our other piece of paper. So for that, you'll need a marker. I used a black marker for my crown, but if you don't have a black marker, you can use another color marker. If you don't have yellow construction paper, you can use other materials. This project right here, I created with the back of a pizza box. So I cut this pizza box out and I drew my crown and decorated with markers and tape and construction paper. So you can do your own style, which is different from what I'm going to do today, or you can kind of do both. Another example that I created using recycled materials and construction paper and paint markers. This is another crown that I created, just kind of like a mini crown. This one has like 3 points on it. You can make your crown, and your crown can have 4 or 5 points on it. You can add jewels and stuff to it if you want. It's totally up to you how you want to do it, and you can use whatever materials you have available to you. All right, the other materials that you'll need, I'm going to use paint to kind of decorate my background. We're going to mix some colors today, so I'm going to walk you through that. If you have paint, you can follow along. If you just have markers, you can just kind of use your markers or your crayons to color along with me and decorate in the way that you want. But I'm going to use paint so you can kind of see what I'm doing, so we can mix some colors. The project that I'm going to make looks like this. So we're going to do some background paint and mix some colors, and then we're going to cut out our crown, and then we're going to like glue or tape it to this paper right here. So I have some blank white paper. If you have like some old cardboard, you can use old cardboard or construction paper, whatever materials you have. So this is what we're going to go for right here. But you could also do something like this, or you can do something like this. So feel free to kind of experiment and make what you want to make. So in our first step is going to be to color our paper. So I have my white paper here. Sometimes like a good material to use is like old newspaper. So if you have some old newspaper laying around, you can use that. Old magazine paper, you can cut stuff out and kind of decorate this. So there's a lot of different possibilities that you can do, but I'm going to start off with my white paper. So I have my yellow paint. I'm going to pour a little yellow paint here in the center. Oh, that's probably a little bit too much, but that's okay. So you can use watercolor paint. If you have watercolors, that's great. If you have acrylic or some other water-based paint, that's also great too. So I'm going to add some green here. And I'm not going to use water because I think with the amount of material we have, there's no need to rinse my brush. And sometimes if you don't rinse your brush, you just, use whatever you have there. Sometimes you get some kind of like cool color effects without rinsing. So I'm not going to rinse my brush. I don't have any water. If you want to get water and you want to rinse your brush out, that's completely fine. All right, so Like our example, we have our red at the top, and then we're getting into our orange, and then we have our green at the bottom. All right. So what I am going to do, I'm going to start off with my red. I probably should have gotten blue, but I didn't have blue. I already had green. I'm just going to get my red color here, and I'm just going to go back and forth, keep my paper straight, go back and forth, and I'm just going to paint, fill in that red. We're going to fill in that red to probably about halfway of the page. So if you have like a wide brush, you're going to be able to paint this much faster. And I'm going to try to use up all that paint as best as I can. So this is our background here that I'm painting. Try to get that filled in as best as I can. And we can go to edge. If you're painting at home and you're on your kitchen table or something, it might be a good idea to put something underneath. If it's your kind of like workshop table and paint's not an issue for you, then you know you can just paint edge to edge. And if you're using that water-based paint, you should be able to clean it up afterwards if you get a little bit on your workspace. All right, looks like I might need to add a little bit more red, maybe. Get those white parts filled in. And you want to go back and forth, side to side, as much as possible so that you can get that filled in and use up as much of the paint as you can. So I'm about the halfway mark of my page. Try to get some of that filled in. So the next color I want to add is orange. So in order to do that, to get orange, I'm going to have to mix a couple of my colors together. So I have my yellow here, I have my red. I'm going to take a little bit of my red and move it over here with my yellow and mix those together until I get an orange color. I'm not going to use all of my yellow because I might use my yellow for something else later. But once I have my orange, I can start painting my orange. Again, I'm going side to side, filling that in. Alright, so now I have a little bit of space left for my green. I was actually supposed to have blue so that I could mix the yellow and blue together to create green, but I just had green, so we're just going to go ahead and use that. If you're using markers, you can like color your red with your markers and then color in your orange and then color in your green at the bottom. Or if you're using crayons, you could do that same kind of combination. If you want to change your color background, you can use different colors if you want to. So I am going to now get some of my green and fill in some of this green here at the bottom of my page. Just going to fill that in. Make sure I'm spreading that from side to side. And try to fill that in. So my paper is getting a little, like when it's wet, it's kind of getting wavy a little bit, and that's okay because it's going to dry. And we can always put it underneath a book or something to like flatten it out. I'm just trying to spread that paint out as much as I can. And once we have this all painted, we're going to let this dry, because before we attach our crown, we want to make sure that our crown is going to stick, and we need this to be completely dry and not wet. All right, so I'm getting close to being done. You can play around with mixing your colors. Try to fill in your edges as best as you can. All right. That looks pretty good. Maybe I'll get some color here, mix this up, mix some of this green up, and just fill in some of these spaces here. Just randomly, just to add some more color. And fill in some of that white space. And you can make a bunch of these projects in different sizes, like the one I showed before. Those are like half the size of the one we're making right now. And it's a good way to practice your painting skills. Still trying to get in some of this white space here on the edge. Try to get in some of that top space there. And if you have other ideas about your background design, you should go ahead and try that. The idea for this is to have fun and enjoy yourself. Spread that paint around. Don't be afraid to get your hands covered in a little bit of paint, because you can always wash it off. So right now I'm just going to try to spread this paint out. Some of this white space will be covered up because I'll have my crown on top. I just want to try to get my edges filled up as best as I can. I could always trim this with scissors too towards the end to get some more color in there. But we're just having fun with paint. Pretty soon we're going to move on to our next step. I'm almost done filling this out. And if it's a nice day outside, you could take your paint outside, paint in the sun, in the warm weather. This would be a good outdoor activity as well as an indoor activity. Okay, so I finished painting. This is the background. We're gonna set this aside and kind of like let it dry. But you should have a background like this if you were using paint. If you were using some other materials, you can kind of set aside your background if it's wet to let it dry. We're now going to work on our crown. So I'm going to move this over outside of the side of the camera. All right, so this is my paint that I was using before. I might use some more of this paint later. I had it on foil. And I was kind of mixing it around. I think it was off camera, so you couldn't really see what I was doing with the mixing. But in order to get my orange, I was using red and yellow, and I mixed those two colors together. And then I just left my paintbrush wet to go get other colors and stuff like that, and just kept painting and painting. I never worried about like rinsing out my brush. So I'm going to set this off to the side and come back to it later if I need more material. So I have my paintbrush here. I'm going to move that over to out of the way. This is my crown that I made on yellow construction paper. You can use whatever paper you have available to you, but we're going to draw another one on some paper. I'm just going to pull some out just so that you can see how I did it and what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use purple, and I'm going to fold this piece of construction paper in half. And you can cut your crown out of old magazine, old newspaper, whatever material you have. Use my scissors, so I just have these two sheets, and then we're going to make our crown step by step. And it should be pretty easy, I think, for most people. You need to make sure you have like a marker or a crayon. This is my original that I'm going to cut out to add to my other project. This is a new piece of paper. It's about the same size as my other piece of paper. It's like a half sheet. And I'm going to place that in the center there so that you can see it. You should be able to see that. Okay, all right, camera looks good. So I have a marker. Oh, and if you're done with if you're using paint and you have like little bottles like this, or you have like a case that folds, let's go ahead and close up our paint so that our paint isn't drying out. Put our tops back on our paint. And then we can use the rest of that paint later for a different project. Okay. All right. So to draw our crown, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start at the bottom. Our bottom is going to be like a line that we're going to draw. And I'm going to, I don't know, maybe use one or two fingers to kind of figure out where I'm going to start. Maybe like a finger high, because I want to use as much paper as I can, and maybe 2 fingers over, or a finger and a half over, and I'm going to make a dot there so I know where I'm going to start my line. I know I'm going to draw it all the way across almost, and probably stop right here. So I'm going to draw from this dot to this dot. If you have a ruler or some kind of straight edge, you can use that, but it doesn't have to be perfect. In Basquiat's work, his work wasn't perfect looking, and sometimes when you see some of the things he created, you know, it's not always realistic looking. So there's my first line. It's a line mostly straight, but not terribly perfect. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw a line going up, and I'm going to stop probably about a couple of fingers. So I'm going to make like a little dot right there to kind of, so I can figure out where I'm going to stop that line. I'm going to do the same thing here. Maybe draw like a little dot so I can kind of have an idea of where I'm going to stop. And I'm just going to draw a line going up. Going to draw another line going up. And if you don't want to do a straight line, you can do a line at an angle if you want to. This is just an example. You can draw a bunch of different kinds of crowns and pick out the one that you like the best. So the next step I'm going to do, I'm going to draw my points on my crown. So my crown that I'm doing for the example is I'm going to do another 3-point crown, but you can do more than 3 points if you want. And the shape that I'm thinking of, you can think of it as a W kind of shape, because we're going to make a W, or like a upside down M, or like maybe 2 V's or 3, you know, 1 V here, another V there, and then they connect in the middle. So you can, you know, kind of measure that out if you want. Put like a little dot there, and then we're going to draw. So just a couple ways you can do this. You can use something that's kind of like a ruler and draw, or you can just use your eyes and figure out where you want that to stop at. So I don't want to draw my diagonal line going all the way down here, because when we cut it out, it might fall out of place. So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna put like my 4 fingers here, and maybe I'll stop like at the 3rd finger there. So maybe I'll put like a dot there to kind of give me an idea of where I should stop. So I've drawn my first point there, and I'm gonna connect it to that dot that's probably somewhat in the middle. Okay, so there's my first part, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. Maybe about give like myself like 3 fingers and then kind of pretend like I'm drawing the line, make a dot there, and then I'm gonna connect this line here to that dot and this to that point. So now I have my crown. All right, so now I get my scissors. I'm ready to cut this out. So I started off with my yellow crown. It's a little bit different than my purple crown, but that's okay. So I'm gonna cut this crown out. And if you're not good with scissors, you can have your parents or older brother and sister to help you. Just be careful. So I cut out the side line first. I'm just gonna cut, and I'm gonna make sure that I don't cut all the way through my black line. I want to kind of leave that line, make sure that that black line is still sticking out. And then after we get it glued or taped down to our paper, I can go back over it with my marker to make that line a little bit thicker so that it stands out a little bit better. So while we're cutting this, my background is drying. Hopefully it will be dry soon, so that when I put this on, it's not wet or anything. So I'm gonna cut out these points. You should be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm gonna cut. So just take your time and follow the black line on your drawing. Okay, I'm almost done with this. All right, so I have my crown cut out, my first crown. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the second crown. This will give my background some time to dry out, and you can also see and watch how I'm cutting this out. I'm just following that line. And then after I cut this out, I'm gonna like use my black marker. I'm gonna make that line a little bit thicker. I'm just taking my time, cutting along those lines so I get my crown cut out. Okay, so almost done. So now I have 2 crowns. If you have more than 1 crown, you might be able to maybe do something unique with it depending on your colors and how you want to mix and match your colors. Maybe I could do something like this where I have like 2 crowns put together to kind of give it a unique effect. But the first thing I'm going to do is just going to use my black marker and kind of go over that line to make that line a little bit thicker so that it stands out a little bit more. All right, first I'll start on my yellow one. Just gonna make that line a little bit thicker. It's kind of hard to see because my desktop is a dark color. It's black, and I'm using a black marker, so it might be hard for you to see that that line is getting thicker. I just want to make sure that it stands out a little bit more. If you're using a Crayola marker like I am, you can turn that marker to the side to get a thicker line. Fill in that yellow a little bit, make that line a little bit thicker. You could also use a permanent marker if you don't have a Crayola marker. And any dark color would work, like a black or purple, dark blue. And then the other thing that you can do when you are making your crown, if you want to maybe give it a little bit more detail or decorate it, you can add in your jewels to the crown, some shapes in there. I'll do a couple of examples while I am going over this. Okay, so I'm just going to add like a line here, add a line here, just to give this a little extra detail. And if you want, you can put like a little diamond in there or like a ruby or something like that to give this a little bit more decoration if you want. And maybe we'll do like a line across, like so. All right, so there's our crown. All right. I don't think I'm going to use the purple one. I'm going to save the purple one for later. So here is my background. My background is, oh, it's dry, I think, or it's mostly dry. So I'll put my background back there in the center. It's on the sides, it's folding up a little bit, but I'm gonna use like a book or something to kind of flatten that out. Put this underneath the book, flatten it out to make this paper like lay flat. And then I'm gonna put my crown here in the center of my painted page. If you have glue, you can use glue to glue it down to your page. And then what you'll want to do is hold your hands down and keep that in place until the glue makes it stick. Or you can use tape. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my glue. I'm going to try using my glue to see how that's going to work first. If you're working with recycled materials like cardboard and newspaper, you could try taping it down if you weren't using paint and you were using like just markers. So try glue with, if you paint it, or use tape, just use whatever you have, whatever you think is going to stick. But for this one, I'm going to try to use my glue first. And then if glue doesn't seem like it's going to work, like if my crown falls off later, then I'll go back and like maybe use tape. So give me a moment, I'm going to get my glue. So if you have like Elmer's white glue or something like that, or a glue stick, I'm going to try my glue stick. Sometimes this is pretty good, and it's kind of convenient. Sometimes it's kind of fun to like just glue. So I'm going to turn this over, and this has my name on it already, Mr. Sidney. My name is Sidney Irvine, by the way. I'm a student at OSU in the licensure program, and while I'm taking classes in student teaching, I make videos like this for Urban Art Space. So you've probably seen some of my other videos, like the 3D modeling or the iMovie movie making one, if you're into editing videos. Or maybe you saw the one where I designed a room using an interior design program. There's a bunch of videos, or there's a few videos that I made using different tools and programs to create artistic things, and you can see those on the Urban Art Space website. All right, so I have this pretty much glued on all parts. Now I'm going to turn this over and hold it down before it dries. All right, that looks pretty good, I think. I'm just gonna hold this down. Count to about 30 seconds while holding this down to make sure that it's sticking. Sometimes the glue sticks. I mean, depending on what brand, the glue may be really sticky or it might not be that sticky. But it's kind of good to kind of like hold it down and just kind of rub it to make sure that it's sticking to the paper. So after about 20 or 30 seconds, you can rub this in a little bit. And then after, be careful because you might get some marker on your hand if the marker is still wet. You could probably use like another piece of paper on top of this and then hold it down with your hand so that if you decide to rub it, it's not spreading the marker, but maybe it might leave a cool effect too if it's a little smudged. All right, so this is our project. This is our Basquiat crown with our mixed color background. Thank you for joining us today on our explorations. Again, you can make as many of these as you want with all the materials you have at home. You can use recycled materials, you can use construction paper, you can use markers, you can use tape, you can use glue. And the artist that inspired this, his name is Basquiat. And he is the one who came up with using the crown for the things he thought were important to him or to the people important to him in his artwork. So have a great day and make some more art. Thank you for tuning in.